Hey guys, this is Ken. How you going? This is just a quick video. I've been watching some YouTube lately, and I often watch other lawnmower guys to see how they're going and how they do things. And one thing I see a lot is guys not using the guard on their whippersnipper. Now, you can do whatever you like. It's your business or your weekend lawn. But personally, I always use the guard. Number one, especially these days, you need it for insurance reasons. If anything goes wrong and you smash a window or something and you don't have your equipment in proper working order, you can get in big trouble for that. A lot of the time, the guys that don't use their guard are professionals, and I've seen a lot of guys that I like watching on YouTube, they don't use their guard. So it's not a shot at anybody, but the reason your guard is there is if you've got a bump head, quite often the guard will have a bit of metal attached to the bump head, attached to the guard, and when the line comes around, the line hits that metal and cuts it to the length that you want. So a couple of the arguments why guys don't use their guard is, number one, they can't see where they're going because the guard blocks their view, and number two, they can have longer cord when they don't have a guard on. Well, my answer to both those things is, number one, you can see where you're going after you've been doing it for a while. You can still see. It obviously depends on what type of guard you have on your machine. I use Husqvarna's, but I actually change the bump head to a Honda bump head because it's better than the Husqvarna one. But I still have to use the Husqvarna guard because it fits on the machine properly. Now, after a while, it might take a while, but you can see where you're going. You get used to it. My dad used to have a lawnmower business, and he couldn't use the guard either. He always took it off. He said it was too big. You can't see where you're going. But I've been doing it for 12 years, and I can see what I'm doing. So you do get used to it after a while. It might be a bit of an adjustment if you're not used to it. And number two, to the second point of having longer cord, your machine, it's finely tuned. So if you have really long cord on there, it's throwing the balance of the machine off a little bit, and it's making your engine work harder than it's built to work. I mean, if you're using it on big paddocks and stuff, I do a lot of small domestic lawns. I do have bigger jobs, but I don't do them very often. So my line of work's probably a bit different to a lot of the guys I see on YouTube, where it's all small domestic. But if you're using big, long line all the time, it's kind of throwing your machine off a bit, and that's more down to technique as far as I'm concerned. If you need lots and lots of line, then you're just chewing it up too quickly. We're in hot, dry conditions at the moment, which does chew your line because all the ground's really hard and coarse, so you go through a lot more line. But if you can just use the tip of your whippersnipper cord, then you're not going to use as much. Having said that, if you're doing big properties, it might be, I mean, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. You probably want to be cutting bigger areas quicker, so that's a bit different. But it underpowers your machine. So I don't know what the bonus is of having long cord when your machine may or may not be designed to do that. The only time I've ever taken the guard off my machine, apart from when I first bought it because I believed my dad when he said you can't see what you're doing, but the only time I've ever taken it off was my first machine was a Kawasaki, and it was only little. It was a 23 horsepower, cc, sorry, not horsepower. That'd cut pretty good. So it was only small. It was really super duper light. And when I took, one day it was super windy. It was really windy. And because the machine was so light, the wind was blowing the end of the whippersnipper out of, it was blowing it away from where I wanted to cut. So I had to take the guard off in that circumstance. But that's the only time I've ever taken a guard off and not used it. I'm constantly getting hit with things, even with a guard on. So I really don't see the point of taking the guard off. I see a lot of guys do it, but it's just dangerous. And the guard doesn't stop everything from hitting you, but it certainly helps. It also controls where the grass goes. So anyway, everyone does what they do, but my opinion is you should leave your guard on, A, for safety, and B, to help cut your cord. Anyway, I hope you learned something from this video and as to why I keep mine on, And yeah, like I said, I'm not having to go at anybody. If they want to take it off, that's up to them, but personally I don't. Alright guys, thanks for watching.